And welcome to today's Resilience Reset. It is going to be a wild card. That's how it works. Now, let me just put the right audio in. I hope, yeah. Anyway, I am super excited. We're going to go look at, oh my gosh, 3 books on the screen, one behind me, one to the side, and one right here. All right. But I need this one in my hand because we are about to figure out what our topic is going to be today. And I think I'm going to go upside down and backwards. Ready? Let's go to this page. If you haven't been here for this before, what happens is on Wednesdays, I just riff on a topic, something out of the book, something that will hopefully inspire you to be more resilient, to stress less, to do more, be happier, you name it. That's what I'm looking for. So, stay here. Okay, so this is finding a path to time freedom. That's right. Let's do it. Okay, so this is right from, oh no, this is the second chapter. Okay, so what is time freedom? Time freedom to me, anyhow, I mean, you may have, actually, I'd love to hear your opinion on what time freedom means. Hi, Damith, and nice to have you with us. Thanks for doing the shout out. What does time freedom mean to you? Like, to me, it means I have the choice of how I'm going to spend my time. And so there are times when I need to be in total workflow and do absolutely like get into that zone where I'm producing a high amount. And it means being able to have time off without any guilt, with any unnecessary attachment to the to-do list that is piling up behind the scenes, and feeling like I have boundaries, etc. That's what time freedom means to me. And one of the concepts you'll find in the book is that time freedom is not found by finding like 2-hour chunks, although that's lovely when it happens. But time freedom is found when we find like 10 minutes here and 10 minutes there and 3 minutes over here and 45 minutes here, and we start to compress the amount of time that it takes for us to do something. And then we add it all up. And if we're really strategic about how we do this, then ultimately you can end up doing, whatever else you want with that time. And one of the things that, for people who are really stressed, which seems to be a lot of people, we always encourage, we being society, encourages stress management techniques, right? So I call them the critical six: the rest, the exercising, nutrition, having a great support system, like mindfulness. All of that is critically important. The thing is that if you look at how you spend your time, and if you're already at your capacity each day, if you're on the cusp of burnout, then all the like, you can't exercise your way out of the fact that you have an unruly to-do list and you're overwhelmed by it. Like, it's a good tool and it's important, and I love exercising, so that's all good, but there needs to be a better way to do this. And so the whole concept in the book is about how do we have the stuff that is around us. So the tasks that we need to do, the obstacles we face that we need to solve, the adversities and the relationships that we have to process and, in the case of an adversity, heal from. We need to compress how that stuff impacts our day-to-day capacity. Like, that's a huge part of my overall philosophy. So in this particular chapter, let me just look what I wrote here on page 14 is, oh yes, okay, so I was talking about you only have 3 options if you want to fix the capacity gap. Okay, so the capacity gap meaning I have this much to do, I only have this much physical, mental, and emotional ability each and every day, and there's a gap between what I've got to get done and what I have available. And so the only way to fix this equation that I found are 3 different ways. Number 1, we can work longer hours during the week. Well done. No, there's actually 4 ways. So, well, because when I do my speeches, I talk about you need to expand your personal capacity. And so I guess I was sort of talking about the same thing here, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Work longer hours, which is not ideal. Stop doing some of the tasks you're doing, which is a really important strategy, but you can't delete your way out of the overwhelming problem. Okay. Because it's just going to keep piling up. And that's okay. We're just going to have to find a better way, which is number 3. We need to change the way that you approach the work you do. And the idea is that then it would steal less of your capacity. You'd have more left over to have time freedom to make the choices that you want to make. So the deleting, which is the page that I came out on, is something I do with my coaching clients. Okay. And it's a big discovery process that one needs to go through, but you can do it on your own. It's all good. So if you choose to explore it, and I really hope you do, that's what I say in here. Here are some questions to consider. And I'm going to go through those questions because I think it's really important. But before I get into that, you have to actually figure out where your time is going. You need to figure out exactly what you're doing each day. And the challenge that I give to my clients is walk around for a week with a post-it note beside you and just be like, okay, I talked on the phone for 30 minutes. I scrolled Facebook for 10 minutes, an hour. I worked on this project. I did the sales call, like just kind of get a sense of how your day is progressing. And every time I've done that with someone, that awareness has been so incredibly effective because we can't delete stuff in your capacity, like in your capacity funnel, if we don't know what actually it is. Because a lot of times it's very arbitrary in our thinking, like, oh yeah, I think I do this. This is how I spend my time. I'm going to challenge you to figure out how you actually spend your time. Okay. And then we can start looking at the deleting. But as you know, I'm not just about going into solution activation. I'm about situational awareness, the whole problem solving framework, right? Situational awareness, getting really clear on what's happening, and then self awareness, diving into the issue of how am I responding to what's happening? And potentially, how may I be making it harder to deal with? And then we can find, based on those answers, a really good solution. So here are some of the self-awareness questions I've invited you to consider in the book. Do you lack boundaries and say yes instead of no? Like, I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, I can't believe I said yes to going to do that thing. And then I'm like, am I just being out of the habit of going somewhere? And that's, I don't know if you've ever felt that way with COVID. And then I'm really glad that I go in the end. That's not the same as if somebody calls you up and says, hey, I've got this volunteer role. I think you're going to be perfect for it. I need somebody to take over. Will you do it? And everything in you says, I'm totally maxed. I have no capacity left to give. I am struggling with what is happening, right? Like in my life already. But because this other person has an agenda that they need to fill this volunteer spot and they've chosen me, I'm going to say yes. That's lacking boundaries. And if you know that you lack boundaries, and that's part of the capacity gap issue, then we can put in boundaries. But if you're not recognizing that you're saying yes when you want to say no and what sorts of circumstances that's happening in, then you can't really fix the deal. Next, I hear this a lot with teams. Do you feel obligated to pick up the slack for others? If there's somebody who you work with and they're just not drawing the line and you keep picking it up and all they're dropping balls, you're like underneath them going, oh, let me get your balls for you. I realized as I started doing this that was not a good example. Anyway, if people are dropping balls and you're picking them up, Oh my God, you didn't tune in to just see me laugh at myself, did you? Oh my goodness. If you can't have fun, what can you do, right? Okay. So do you feel obligated to pick up the slack for others? And I think sometimes this is like, I don't know what it is. Like when I've talked with people, they're like, I do all the stuff around the office. And I'm like, okay, but why do you do it? Like, who assigned it to you? Who assigned you to be the person who catches everybody else's balls, like that they're dropping? Allie's got the giggles today. Sorry, I spill water all over me. Anyway, like what obligation is that of yours? Like, where does that come from? And is it genuinely a concern because if the balls get dropped and you don't pick them up, then there's going to be a problem with the client? Or is it because you keep picking them up, other people don't mind dropping them? Just saying, got to explore these things. This is part of the self-awareness stuff that's so critical. And then this goes into the next piece. Does doing it all win you approval, yours or others? Because there's some sort of a driving force behind the scenes that is like in your psyche that says, I need to do everything. And if I say no, then I'm letting people down and I'm not worthy. I used to have a post-it note on my in my mirror in the bathroom, and it said, "Deserve to hit the pillow." And while some might think that's like, oh, look at Allison, she was striving to contribute more into this society. The truth of the matter is, it was driven from a place of I'm not good enough unless I am doing everything, right? Like every volunteer issue, every like just going above and beyond and is connecting people and like doing all that stuff I used to do. Not that I don't connect people now, but I have a lot more boundaries about it because I think that if we're striving for this, but if I wouldn't have done the sense of a validation from other people, then we're always chasing this carrot that we're never really truly going to have fulfilled. And that's my concern for people and part of why I encourage you to do this exercise. And then when it comes to delegating, like, if we've got this capacity gap and we've got too many things that we're doing each day, and our only options are either, do it more effectively and efficiently, so it takes less of our life like capacity from us, or delete it so it no longer gets done, or delegate it so that somebody else does it, then we've got to look at why aren't you delegating? And some people have a really difficult time delegating, and I get it. And if that's an issue that is causing you a capacity gap, then we've got to explore, why are you resisting delegating? Because it's a good question, because delegating and freely delegating, like not delegating and micromanaging the delegation, like that's not helpful, but just allowing that to go and then like check back in later and trusting it. Like, do you not have the right people? Have people dropped the ball before? And so you just don't trust anybody's going to get it done. Like, there are a lot of things we can consider when it comes to your capacity gap here. And then here's another one. Is your identity too closely aligned to being busy? Like, if you actually got all of your destructive stress under control, if you actually just lived in flow and were able to see the beautiful joy that happens each and every day around us, despite all the shit that we all go through, which is just called life. If you weren't caught up in the busy, 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 who would you be? Like, would you even recognize yourself? And, so often our doing gives us our self of identity, our sense of identity. But if we learn how to just be, and that's our identity, then the busy is just a choice. It's not something that we're there complaining about or wearing as a badge of honor. It's just something, oh yeah, sure, we got something to do. Great, I'll do it. It's really quite beautifully freeing. I hope that's for you too. So it is definitely a rabbit hole to go down and figure out what are you doing during the day? How does that relate to your personal capacity to think, to feel, to be, to do? And how can you fix it? And we need to, my whole premise is we need to look strategically at how we're showing up in life, how we're floating through this human experience, and do the problem solving framework to better show up so that we have more joy, we have more space and capacity for the things that matter most in our lives. We're not bogged down by the destructive stress. So that's my thinking for today, folks. Questions, thoughts, comments? I'd love to hear from you. I mean, these are the very conversations that make me supercharged to chat with people. And if there isn't, that's fine. I'll end the call at 3:33. I know we've got people watching, so yeah, you're more than welcome to go in the chat box. And if you're watching the replay, I love getting the notes from people. I watch all your replays. Great, awesome. And if you want to show up live, come live. And if you don't, no problem too. But I hope, if this has resonated at all with you, I hope you'll get a copy of my book, Take Back Your Weekends. If you don't have one yet, I mean, a lot of people have bought the book, which is really exciting for me. It's getting out there, the message. So if you have it, by all means, if you haven't, go get one. All right. I hope you have a beautiful day. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow oh, you know what we're going to do tomorrow? Very exciting. I've got a special guest, and we are going to be talking about joy. What about joy? Oh, Rod's got a point. Let me put this up. What if we carried around a Post-it note with our vision on it? Yes, talk about motivation. And every time we came across something that reaches over our boundary, we measured that against our vision. If it is close with it, we answer yes. If it is not, sorry, can't do. What a great suggestion. If we could, and this is where, if you've got the goals, if you know what the vision is, and you know what, Rod, you're actually making the assumption that most people know what their vision is. And I'm going to suggest most people haven't had, at least a lot of the people I've talked to, have not had the time or the capacity, as I would call it, to actually truly consider what is their vision. What are they really, truly trying to achieve? And if we don't have that, how do we even begin? Right? But yes, great. And knowing, look, I'm working on this. Those are my priorities. If it's not in line, we gotta say no. And so often people are upset saying no, or feel bad, or I don't know. I don't know why people are so. I think it's guilt. I think it's a sense of obligation. I think it's I'm letting people down, and somehow that, when in actual fact, if you say no to somebody, they usually just move on to the next person till they find somebody who says yes. Right? I don't know. Something to consider. Awesome. Thank you for your comment and recommendation. I think that was a great piece of advice that you've shared with us, Rod. Other than that, I'm off. We're going to talk about joy tomorrow, a special segment. So really excited about that. And I look forward to seeing you then. So until then, may you stress less, do more, and be happier. Bye for now.